tonight's competition, but quality at the end. So I think we finish the year with a wee bang and start the year with a bigger bang next year, because everybody gets excited over Christmas. And openings is the first one for next year, so you've got 2 months to sort that out. So we'll see you then. So the first place was Les Armon. Is Les here tonight? No. Second was Jane Barnes. Jane's here. And we don't have another one to choose for next year. We don't have another one to choose for next year. So thank you everybody for the entries. We'll look forward to catching up with you next year.
And a huge round of applause, everybody, for John, who's done a fantastic job of organising that whole thing. A brilliant purveyor of chocolate fish is probably his title. And also a reminder that at final night we will be drawing one of the entrants from the MDC throughout the year, and the prize is free membership for next year. So come along and find out if you've managed to get free membership. Okay, let's have a breather now, another cup of tea, and we can get set up with Joe and Pete. Okay, thanks.
emergency, please reassemble across the road, and it would be lovely if you turned your phones to silent, please, so we don't have any rings and dings interrupting our lovely speakers. Right, now that I've done those bits, it's got a couple of notices before I talk about the program for this evening. So there's two that I am particularly interested in. One being that our first meeting for next year, thinking about it, is on the 31st of January, and it's the pizzas at 7 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock we'll be looking at the prize winning pictures from this year. So that's just a reminder, 31st of January is our first session back, since this is actually the last Wednesday session, and next week we have the final night on the 2nd of December, and the doors open for that at 6:30. Really like to see everyone there, because I'm going to be here hopefully, and really quite looking forward to it. The other notice I have is a congratulations. So that's a congratulations to all those who got their photos in the NZ camera book. So well done. It's a lovely achievement, and really enjoy looking at those too. So this evening we do have what is called the Curtis Talks from Diana. And so we have the lovely Joe and Peter, and Peter is going to talk about his Fiordlands adventures and Joe's Winter Wonderland. I believe Joe is up first, so that was really awesome. I'm sure you all have seen Joe and Peter's pictures in the club nights over the past year or more, depending how long you've been in the club, because they've been in the club longer than me. So, and I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know who was going to introduce anyone, but Jo has certainly, we've seen her grow, and the pictures and certainly have gotten better and better, and I love the experimentation that has gone in, and then the results are just absolutely lovely to look at. So I introduce Jo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the introduction. I'm Jo Curtis, and tonight I'm going to share with you some of our Winter Wonderland. So, good evening to the members here and the members at home. Good evening to you. This is the last Wednesday of the CPS for the year, and we volunteered to be the last inspiring speakers for the year, and so I do hope that we deliver. All these photos that you'll see have been made by Pete or myself, either on the cell phone cameras or the Olympus cameras with various lenses. We both have a story to tell, and so sit back and enjoy being entertained by us. Me first. This is my showcase of our Winter Wonderland, and I'll share some of the tips that I've made that I've learned along the way, mostly from CPS members. We discovered tonight that we've been members for about 10 years, nearly 10 years. So we've learned a few things from you guys, and thank you very much for that. So from May this year through to July, we were house sitting for friends in the Ida Valley, Central Otago, Braeburn Station. And let's go back there. We'd seen images like this of these huts in CPS competitions and wanted to visit that place too. Thanks to Barry Dench, thanks Barry, we gained permission from the owners to go on their land to make photos. Now there's an alert here, and always gain permission before you set foot on private property It's really necessary to do that. This one is an early photograph that has been an awarded one, which is nice to see. You'll see in this presentation that I enjoy making triptychs. Various edits of the same location, this place and those huts became our Otago go-to. We met those who live and work here, and we returned many times to develop the bonds we were making with the land and with its people. We learnt the history of the huts, and now we know that the left one, that left hut, affectionately as the cook shop. In case you're new to the South Island, here's location maps. You can see Christchurch there. Travel south about 5 hours and a bit to that little spot there, which is Otago, and the Blackstone Hill was where we were in Ida Valley. So quite close to us, near our place, it became our place, is St. Bathans, Wedderburn, the Falls Dam, and we were right on the southwest of the Hawkton range of mountains. So that was our playground for nearly 3 months. We've returned many times to capture this composition from different positions and different light and weather conditions. Al and Philippa, our friends, they live at the station. Philippa runs a successful bed and breakfast from the property and popular with rail trail bikers, Brayside Farm Cottage in Aotearoa. Al runs the station with his brother. We've shared hours of laughs over the years, several birthday parties, and our local village was Aotearoa. Gilchrist Store is a working general store with an intriguing museum feel to it. Well worth a visit. Philippa and Al went to Europe for 3 months, May to July this year. We accepted the challenge of house sitting. We are privileged to have been asked and value their trust in us. We were caring for 3 cats, Mr. Tibbs, Lola, and we. Sunny mornings still required a few layers of clothing. And we also cared for 4 hens, feeding scraps and grain twice a day and collecting eggs in the morning. Caring for and exercising 8 working station dogs, a veritable mix of enthusiasm and energy. This is what I wore every afternoon as we exercised the dogs. Layers. The sun left the valley at 3:30 p.m. Cold set in. Most days with a camera around my neck, as you never know when a photo opportunity will present itself. Pete with the 8 dogs in our backyard. Me with the dogs. Stunning scenery to be out walking in the afternoon as the shadows lengthened. The dogs are good-natured and followed us, as they knew they'd be fed at the end of the run. We made a few images of the dogs and gave them to the owners on their return. As with wildlife photographs, being at their level enhances the image. Tricky when there's 8. As soon as you crouch, they want to interact with you, and the slobber and paws and barking and excitement. But a fast shutter speed and high ISO is essential to gain sharp images and the dog's characters. They trusted us, and we grew to love them. The yellow pipe and pool noodle that you see me holding here, we used that to tap our legs as we walked, because Splash, the blind dog, would stay close and know he'd be safe. A bonus on our afternoon walks was to talk with the horses. These are the station's working musterers. So this talk is a series of chapters that may or may not be in sequence, but here we were going for our first pantry supplies into Alexandra. The locals call it Alex. So here was a photo opportunity, and Pete would often hear me saying, "Stop the truck!" Fog featured in the Ida Valley that day and created a new world. Following are several images of the same scene. A captivating scene. My eye darts everywhere. A closer crop in camera. Is this the scene that caught my eye? I wanted to refine it a bit, and closer again to highlight the part of the scene that speaks to me the most. The two hills shrouded in fog, the recessions made possible by the fog, the background of the majestic remarkables. Now my eye lolls backwards and forwards on the rounded hills and stays within the frame. Curling. So local Blackstone Hill team were playing in a tournament. That day we went shopping and we made some team photos for them. Stop for an hour longer. There's a tip here. Give yourself time to capture random moments of interest. Always take your camera. You never know when you'll be invited to use it. They'd never had team photos before. It was a pleasure to give these action triptychs to them. End of autumn when we arrived. Colour on the ground, colour in the skies, stunning, vivid colour. June, and this was our CPS challenge for the year. And the brief was 4 diverse images that work or flow together. Thank you, Ian, wherever you're sitting, for this challenge. It was great. In my new environment, I had to think of new ways to be aware. What resources did I have? Well, the place, that was easy. That was right at my doorstep. The people, or the portrait, and the form and shape. Peter became the model again. We borrowed the dry as a bone coat and the halter from the stables. A story runs through these images. The land, the musterer, the evening light on the square windows, the thread of rustic gold linking each to the other. And this is the image that depicts the light or the texture. A double image with wall texture overlaid to give the well-used backcountry look. The table set for the musterer's return, a dash of gold on the chair backs. And that was the final set of 4. Apologies for those who've already seen these ones. That was a fun exercise and I enjoyed doing that, Ian. Thank you. So now it's reflections hunting time. Lake Ida, 2 degrees, early in the morning. You don't have to be early to beat the rising sun at this time of the year, but you do have to be well dressed. I've enjoyed the national salons as well as competitions with CPS. Creative Focus National Salon had a section for reflections this year. I planned this composition earlier that week by going there and working out where I'd need to stand with the tripod and the camera. This is my entry into the salon. It wasn't placed or awarded. Perhaps I should have entered this one instead. This was a shot directly behind me at the same time as the previous slide. So there's another tip, always look behind. Now to St. Bathans, the Blue Lake. just over the hill from us, so it was convenient to arrive while the shadows were still long and the air still. Another chance for a reflection shot, giving almost clear reflections and chiseled outlines to the remaining rock formations. This area has a rich history, gold mining history. St. Bathans was once a bustling town. What we see here are the remains of sluicing pipes discarded amongst the quartz gravel and Gwaiwaki rock. So we had a quick trip. We had to be quick because the forecast was that it was going to snow quite substantially, but I had to be there because it was awards time. So I have to share these pics with you because it was an honour to have received the inaugural Matheson Beaumont Award at the Dunedin National Salon for the championship landscape image. This is particularly relevant to share with you as it's another image of the cook shop on our station. And this image has become an historic account of this scene too, because as now there's only one tree standing. The other tree was felled and has been tagged for next winter's firewood. So that particular shot will never be able to be made again. Back to Ida Valley, as snow was forecast. We made it back before the roads were closed, and the next day was the beginning of our winter wonderland. This tree was outside our kitchen window. What a wonderful scene to wake up to. So another trip to St. Bathans after the snow, and we had fog. Combinations of snow and fog drew us back to St. Bathans and the Blue Lake. I wanted to see the western side of the cliffs from the other side of the lake. I envisaged an image of the sun colouring the fog and the cliffs a brilliant bright yellow. That was my plan. We walked in the cold morning light around the other side to reach the planned vantage point. And as you see from the image, the sun was already burning off the fog and created a fog bow. Pretty special witnessing that phenomenon. Of course, I hadn't seen it until Pete said, "Turn around." What I hadn't factored into this adventure was the 3-day-old snowfall turning to ice. This side of the lake doesn't see any sun on these low arc days of winter. It was about here I might have said an expletive. But I had found a stick to assist with the sliding on the uneven surface and carried on as I had an image in mind. Because the fog vanished before I reached the vantage point, that idea evaporated. But along the way I saw this, and I had to record it. The rust red of the winter willows and the old post office roof made a pleasing combination, I thought. And now, without fog, as it had left the area while we were scrambling around the high track, we saw this complete lake from up here. I made a handheld 8-image stitch, and you can see why it's called the Blue Lake. It reflects the clear sky with intensity. Farming on the station continues. This station is thousands of hectares wide. Here, the shepherd moves mobs of sheep with her dogs. Here's another planned shot that also involves an element of surprise. We were on our road, and I was standing at the open door of the truck to make an image of the snow-clad Hawkton Mountains with this old brick building as a feature. The shot this was a shot I'd planned and waited for the snow to enhance the scene. And then, out of the blue, this mob of sheep turned the corner and walked towards us. I thought, perfect. Hadn't planned that part. What are the chances of that happening? The challenge with this image is to have tonal features on both the blacks and the whites. A tricky ask on a sunny situation. Stop the truck. Enjoy these ones coming up. Little Mount Ida and the Trig, almost sundown. Our very own clay cliffs. The Hawktons from our lounge. Impressive sunsets. Dreamy sunrises. Wide open spaces. Minimalistic scenes. Maxine and Richard Cooper, you're here somewhere, aren't you, tonight? Hi. They'd come to visit us. A visit to the Blue Lakes was essential. But first, a portrait of Maxine and Richard. Another of them in action mode, this time at the Blue Lake. I'd planned to take them there to show them the still water and the quiet surroundings. It was anything but that. Hundreds of people had converged overnight for the ice race, an activity that is challenging for extreme athletes. It consists of swimming around set buoys in the water that has to be less than 4 degrees. If the water rises above 4 degrees, the race is called off because it's too warm. It's an international sport, and I still scratch my head as to why they would do this. But, you know, we all have our quirks. This setting now offered us photojournalism opportunities rather than what we'd planned. Swimmers, lifeguards, lifeboats, paramedics, all at the ready to pluck a struggling participant out of the freezing water and race them to the recovery tent if necessary. A USA champion, the New Zealand champion, and one of the all-important medics. Another destination is the Falls Dam, and it's a popular one. In our area, just over the hill, is the Falls Dam, and popular for trout fishing. So late afternoon sun gives a contrast in warm tones in the highlights and cool tones in the shadows. We could nip around there when we could see the conditions would favour a photo session. Friends who came to stay with us would walk the dogs at times so we could be out in the afternoon ambience. Another afternoon revisiting. What do you see here? Striking scenery, layers, rich colour, solid contrasts, leading lines, texture, simplicity. This country has it all. We knew where this falcon was hunting. It took a few visits to catch an image of it. So now a foggy study. Fog can be swirls and slides, ebbs and flow, recessions, soft, delicate, lifts and falls. I ask myself, what has caught my eye? What do I see? How do I feel? What do I want to capture? How do I do that? So many questions to think about and answer before the shutter press. The next 3 slides show the progression of an idea. On the left is the camera photograph, on the right the completed image. How do I show the ebb and flow, the soft and the delicate, the rising and falling of the fog? A captivating phenomenon to witness. This is the middle part of the triptych and the top section. Together, this triptych works for me. The fog falls and rolls just as I saw it. Stacked vertical allows the fog to move. Conversion to black and white takes away the colour distractions and gives more depth. You'll see how I attempted to join the zigzags on each edge. And another form, an ICM interpretation, allows softness to reign. So another stop the truck moment. Atmospheric pressure was building. And what did I see? Leading lines to repeat the horizontal lines, creating visual tension, dramatic, ominous. The moment of release. Lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Can you hear the distant thunder? The sheep stand in stunned silence as the pressure builds. Over the plains and over the mountains. Well, this could be the beginning of the winter wonderland that we were prepared for. We awake to these scenes. It snowed for a few days. The dogs didn't mind. In fact, they loved it. It's the blind dog on the right. It's not a snowdrop in his face, it's his white eyes. He loved it too. And there he is, the blind dog, keeping close to Pete. Pete's image of the dogs, some of you may have seen this already, frolicking in the soft falling snow. What fun they had. Well, I caught this one. We enjoyed capturing their antics. Plastic bags over the lenses that afternoon. And it kept snowing. Our friends from Tauranga walking their dogs up the driveway, shown here. This was taken from the lounge in the dry and the warm where the fire was burning. Stop the truck. More words. Thicker snow up here. Great contrast. Isolate. Stark. Another angle on the cook shop. Those leading lines are a must-have. And of course, a selfie. And the Tauranga friends, another selfie. So from up there, we looked down to where we lived, down under that grey cloud, and we watched the cloud disperse. There it is, moving across. Allowing for a few minimalistic images to be made. On our road is the Blackstone Cemetery, and the words that come to mind there are stark, sobering, respectful. So what did I see? What do you see? On the left is what was there, but what I actually looked at, and you probably did too, is the inscription. So isolate the main idea, get in close. Stark contrasts. Colour or no colour? Do I sit and wait a while? Perhaps another day. And as I left, Blackstone Hill souls at their resting place, safely nestled in a blanket of pure, powdery snow. Here's another leaving shot. These are startled starlings. A chance capture out the truck window one afternoon. 3 different images. I could actually see a triptych being made as I clicked the shutter. I had eyed up these trees on our road for quite a while. The scene needed a snowfall to bring out the texture on the trunks. It happened. And the frosts. Frost on snow, fog on frost, sun, fog on frost. You get a repetition like that, and it's a perfect recipe for a hoarfrost for days. Stop the truck. The house garden, icy wonders. Fog rises and falls. The beginnings of the hoarfrost developing. The bitter Siberian conditions. A frozen puddle we could have skated on beside me there. The dogs did skate on it. It was probably the only day I didn't take my camera because my fingers didn't work. This next little chapter, driveway willows. Sometimes it takes a while to capture the shot that you're looking for. These are the words I wanted to make into an image because I'd seen the driveway and those are the words that came to mind. So I wanted to form the image around those words. This is the driveway and the hoarfrost on the driveway. On the dog run circuit, this is a pleasing composition and I plan to make an image here. But I need a subject. I could have dogs running towards me or a person standing on the brow. I didn't want the fog though, because although this is soft and ethereal, I wanted more clarity and sharpness, warmth to match the warm dirt driveway. This day would not give me those conditions. Thick fog. It was dark in the heavy fog. I had the dogs and the people, just like I'd planned, but not how I wanted it to feel. I didn't want gloom and mystery. So the next day, more ice had formed from that thick fog, and the chooks were reluctant to venture out of the warm coop. The sun was rising as I fed them, and I could see the warm yellows glowing in the distance through the chicken netting fence. And the chook run was pierced with the warm yellow golds that I wanted for that driveway shot. So we had to head over to the driveway right away. We didn't have the dogs running in the morning, so it would have to be a person shot. Pete was my person. He makes a great model. I passed the farmer's red swanee to him as we raced out the door. Same spot, lovely light, rich, warm yellows as the sun sparkled through the ice. Contrasted are the magical, cool silver tones of the frosted branches in the shadows. Now I had the shot I had envisaged weeks before. Words are your friend. They help you isolate the core of the image about to be made. Hoarfrost, magical, transformed, silent, grand, breathtaking. This is a technique I call in the round. I walked around this tree and made about 16 images. Then, in Photoshop, I joined them together. using different opacities to achieve the desired result. You never know what you're going to get when you start putting these together. It's wonderful. This tree I'd had an eye on for months. I thought it would look pretty cool, frosted. We went down to the local village, Oturahua, and walked some of the rail trail. Hoarfrost was everywhere. This is an in-camera double image. The magic was all-encompassing. Still, calm, bright days, about 6 of them. Here's an image I entered into the North Shore Salon. It was awarded with an honours, and I was very pleased that the judges were moved like I was with this scene. I titled it Directions Home. Luck has it, we had some friends visiting while this hoarfrost was performing. Another walk through the Pulburn Gorge, crossing the impressive viaduct over the Manaharikia River, and through the stone brick tunnels in a hoarfrost. Stunning. This is what we walked through that morning. This is an arts trail, wire ball transformed. The Pulburn Bridge. Doesn't that red stand out? Through the tunnels, observing little things. And of course, another selfie. Pockets Winter, here's another project I worked on and made while I was there. I entered this into the National Creative Focus Salon. Here's the sequence of development. Words help to isolate and fine-tune what I wanted to create. Willow frost, delicate, fleeting, ethereal, transient. The in-camera ICM image is on the left and the edited part I wanted to use on the right. This became the first panel of a triptych. The second panel on the right and the third panel on the right. And this is a completed triptych titled Pockets of Winter. A very personal impression of how I felt that day, looking over the bridge through the frost, the hoarfrost. Here's another project, and the last one I'll show you this evening. Reflections. Here's the final image. Following is the process. Another stop the truck moment. I loved this row of frozen trees. They were quite distant from the truck, so to keep the image large enough to work with, I made 5 handheld images to be stitched together later in Photoshop. But how to make the reflection? I really thought this lineup would look great with a pond in front of it. YouTube helped me out. And this is the final image again. I was pleased with this project. I'd learnt new skills and was able to make a pleasing reflection image. Our almost 3 months was coming to an end. So hard to leave, so easy to go back to. Here are a few parting images as we said goodbye for now. It was a privilege to immerse ourselves in day-to-day activities and and changes on and about Braeside Station. Thank you, committee, for allowing me to share some of our photographs, and I hope they fitted the brief. And I do hope you have enjoyed travelling through these 3 months with us, maybe a little inspired. As we left the property. Thank you, folks. That's a quick visit to our wonderland.
Thank you very much, Joe. Wow. That's a tough one to follow. Okay. So I'm sure that you've all seen quite a few of Peter's images over the last year in particular, and other years too. But I certainly enjoy the pictures that we have got that give us a glimpse into the rugged outdoor life that Peter enjoys. And so I'll let Peter take it away. But thank you very much. I know I'm going to enjoy it because it's Fiordland. You want that?
Right. Joe came home one night and told me that I'd volunteered to get up here and speak. And I thought, you've done what? And I thought, what am I going to talk about? I thought, well, I can't just get up there and show them a whole lot of deer photos that I normally take. So I thought, well, I'll do something different to Joe. I'll just take a slice of, well, take you into some of my world, some of the things I like doing. So I haven't prepared a whole lot of, wonderful photos like Joe has, but I've just got a selection of stuff to show you what I do. And what I thought I'd do is show you what I've been involved in Fiordland. I belong to the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation, which most of you probably haven't heard of, but it's basically a hunters' organisation to start with, and their aim is to save the great things about Fiordland. And it's not all about deer, it's all about saving the environment. And over that time, the foundation have shot 18,000 deer, I think it is. So the population now is, well, it's quite small. I think it's quite small, but it's a big area. So, and the aim is to have trophy animals in the future, because they were pretty much decimated by helicopters over the years. Remember what I was going to say. But anyway, part of what they do, well, I haven't got to that bit yet. Part of what they do, or involved in, is predator trapping. So that's what I was going to talk about tonight. Well, those areas that I've outlined there are the blue duck areas that we do this trapping in. It's a blue duck areas. Originally, I think some eggs were taken from the castles in Worsley River, which is the top section, and they were taken away and incubated and hatched, and they released ducks back into these areas. So since 2004, I think it is, the foundation has been setting out trap lines, and now they have about 500 traps scattered throughout the in these main valleys. So right up the top there, you've got top of the lake is the Milford Track, and just to the south is the Castles River, and then the Worsley River, and then the Glasnock River, which has the Nitz River off it, and the very south one is the Lugaburn. So what I'm going to show you is a short video that I put together from some cell phone photos for one of my friends, and it just shows what it is, what we do for a day, just flying in and being dropped off and back again. And then I've got some more photos from a trip I did with a friend. We went in for 5 days doing works with the traps, and a few more deer photos. So if I work out how to use this thing. Oops. So anyway, it's all about the blue ducks. So that duck there was in the Lugaburn. There's another one there, these ducks. It's not surprisingly they've been threatened because they're not scared of anything. They just swim right past you. And this is one of the critters we're trying to catch, the stoats. And also rats. I don't have any live photos of rats, but I've got a few dead ones. So this next clip coming up is a trip in. One time I went in a Robinson R44 helicopter, which we don't use anymore. So, will it go? I'm not sure how to start this. Do you know? Where?
Here.
Oh, there, okay. Oh, there we go. Yep, I'm onto it. No sound?
You can talk.
Okay. The pilot here is Sir Richard Hayes. You might have heard of him, or Hannibal Hayes, as he's known. I think I read somewhere he'd done 38,000 hours, which is quite a few. And this was one morning we went up the Lugaburn. This is the Lugaburn River, or Lugaburn, I should say. It's pretty rugged. To walk in there is pretty difficult. You can't walk up the rivers until you get higher up. And to be quite honest, the main reason I go is for the helicopter flying. It's what I love more than anything, especially low like this. And this particular day, I got dropped off here on my own. And this is in the Nits River, and I had to spend all day walking down, probably, I don't know, 10 k's or so, to where I got picked up. And on the way, there's about 70 traps that I have to check. And most of these photos are just, well, these are taken on my cell phone because you're burdened down with a pack full of eggs and meat and radios and the survival gear. So, and you really have to keep moving to get to the pickup point on time. So I don't normally bother taking my camera. But this is a wilderness area. There's no tracks in here. No cut tracks anyway. But this particular day, I just took a few clips on the way down. There's a huge clearing called the Nits Clearing. It's pretty big, probably the biggest one in Fiordland. And this is when I was waiting for the helicopter, battling sandflies. And here he comes to pick me up. So the Department of Conservation don't let us fly in these helicopters anymore, and normally it's a Hughes 500 Series one. Pity you can't hear it because I love the sound of helicopters. But it's, it's an amazing country. It's pretty rugged. It's, is there? I don't see the volume. This is Glasnock River here, and there's actually a hut right on the edge of near the lake, but there's no helipads anywhere in this wilderness area, but they've been able to just cut a few trees down right on the edge of the lake to come and land. So normally no helicopters are allowed to land in these areas, but we've got a special case so we can. But I reckon it's so cool doing this. So it's just coming to pick up the last guy. You've got to hear it, it's not quite the same. Anyway, I just love flying around like this, it's fantastic. So the flying's normally right in close. The pilot normally likes looking to see if he can see any animals, but we hardly ever do. If we do see any, they're usually down on the river flats. That's just about the end of this clip. Isn't that what we've just seen? Okay. That helicopter you saw coming to pick me up, one of the guys filmed from inside coming to get me. So that was good. I'd spent all day on my own just walking down there, checking traps. So up in these areas here, there's many, many keas. There's lots of them. It's an area that's never been poisoned. It's never had any 1080 or anything. I don't know whether that's a coincidence that there's so many keas on it, but there's certainly a lot everywhere. They follow you around through the bush and everything. the good thing, these particular ones are in the Castle River, and it's quite amazing when you're there, because just across the range to the south is the Milford Track, with thousands of people on it, but up this valley here, no one goes there, well, hardly any. We had picked up a game camera there, and when we looked at it, my friend's game camera, it had 4 people on it for about 8 months, and the other people were just guys like us checking traps. So it's quite a privilege to go there. And of course, there's normal fantails and whatever that is. Warbler maybe. And of course the blue ducks. This is the only time I've seen little baby ones like this. It's a bit closer shot. I didn't have a zoom lens with me, so I was quite lucky to get that close, or close enough. This one is a different time of year, but these are all young ones, so it's obviously our predator trapping's working. There's been a whole clutch of them that have survived there. And there's plenty of wekas. This is a video clip. This is quite good. This is one of the eggs I've taken out of the trap, because we usually put fresh ones in. But I hate to think what these birds do to kiwi eggs. Took him a while, but he eventually made a hole in it and ate it. And we've all seen lots of these wekas. They just, whenever you stop, they just sort of suddenly appear. And it's really, is that the same again? Sorry. And eventually got into it. Here's my friend Oz. His name is Oz because, probably guess why, he comes from Australia. But this particular day we just landed, we'd just been dropped off a helicopter and the Kias were there straight away. I'd never been to this area before, so he came along with me so I could learn where all the traps were and the ways to go. There's what we're there for, to catch these stoats. Sometimes we don't catch any stoats, sometimes we catch 2 or 3 on a trap run of 70 traps. Rats, sometimes we don't catch any rats, and sometimes the trap run, I didn't go on it last week, they didn't get any stoats, and all they caught were rats. And Ozzy caught about 6 or 7, but I believe, well, they tell us that the stoats and rats, about 90% of them will die over winter. And in the springtime, when they're breeding, that's when you need to catch them because the other critters are breeding too, so we don't want these predators to get them. Of course, the scenery is stunning. I can't even remember which river that is. I think it's the Castles. And then there's a few deer tracks. So every now and then we come across a deer, and there's a couple there that we were quite away from them. I had to zoom up on those. They don't normally hang around. And then, I was saying at the beginning, I went in, it was last summer, I went in with my friend Oz here for 4 or 5 days, and our job was to replace the traps in the Lugaburn, because in the Lugaburn, the wickers have destroyed most of the traps. And what the wickers do is they've learnt, well, they follow you around, and they've learnt they pick holes in the boxes, in the traps, big holes in the side, or they eat a hole around the top, the bolts that hold the lids on, and then they open them, and then they get a rock and drop on the traps and set it off and eat the eggs. Yeah, I mean, I've been told this, and I just think, oh yeah, might have happened once, but once I saw it myself, it was unreal. Nearly every trap was damaged, so we had to replace them all. And it's, I believe that it's mainly just in this one catchment, the Lugaburn, so it's a learned behaviour, but they're quite amazing. Anyway, this is just, I've got a couple of photos here as we're leaving, flying off. This is the helicopter we normally go in, which is the best helicopter of the lot, as far as I'm concerned. And every morning we had 1 kilo of bacon we cooked, which seemed to last us all day. And it's good flying in instead of walking into these places, because you can take whatever you like down there, especially if there's only 2 of us, weight-wise. That's a camp we had. And you would have seen this photo probably. I've entered it in a few competitions. And I made a fire, dragged some rocks up from the river. Sometimes I muck around and take black and white ones. This trip was good. I was able to take all my camera gear, because we weren't just going all day with a big weight on our back. These traps were dropped off here by helicopter, and we were carting them around from here. And here's an example of what the wickers do. They just eat a big hole in it like that. Oh, sorry, the Kias. I had a whole lot of photos of these that were destroyed, but when I went to find them yesterday, they were on a hard drive, an external hard drive, which I can't even open anymore, so I couldn't get them. Here's an example of, you can see in the traps here, they've got stones dropped in them. Well, that's what the Kias have done. They've dropped those rocks onto the traps. It's unreal, isn't it? And we've never caught a Kia. They don't get caught. We've caught the odd wicker, but not Kias. There's another stoat gone. We usually carry a little electric screwdrivers. It makes it a bit easier to undo these things. Sometimes we don't get back to these traps as often as we could. There's we go flying once a month, and so it's about 8 trips a year. But sometimes, it takes a lot of logistics of it. The weather often doesn't work, and it's all volunteers, so sometimes it doesn't happen. So the traps end up with things rotting away in them, and that's not quite so pleasant, having to clean them out. It's quite an expensive operation, this. I think it's around about $7,500 every day we go and do this. It's a couple of helicopter flights. It's a long way. And the funding for that is all comes from the money the hunters pay for to go into ballots during the raw season, and also the deer that are culled. We get the helicopter firms that fly us in. they get the job of shooting the deer. We get so many shot every year. And some of the profits of that go towards paying for the helicopters again. So there's no other predator control going on in these areas, just it's only what we're doing. These are red deer. This one here, you can see there's a stag and velvet walking through the trees, and I was probably about 30 metres away from him, and I saw him, and he was sneaking through there, and he hadn't seen me, and he was going along. I thought he's going to win me any moment, and eventually I got this photo when he stopped, and I love that photo, but I entered it in a competition here, and it got 2, I think. The judge didn't like the blurry bits around it, so I don't quite understand that, but I like it. And that's a young wapiti, he's only got one antler. It's damaged, that one. So he's probably one that the helicopters would shoot. And there he is there. This guy here, he came out on nearly every day. We saw him on the same clearing, so we got to know where he'd be. And then he'd wind us, and off he'd bolt, but the next day he'd be back again. You may have seen that photo. That's a young red deer. And that's another one. I think that might have been its mother, actually. To me, the deer are the best things in the bush. You've probably gathered. And I don't know how many of you have seen these before. Does anyone know what that is? They call it orange beech. It's some kind of fungi. I had to look it up when I got home and find out what it was. But it grows on beech trees. It's quite rare. It's a fungus, yeah, sorry. But just in this one particular place, we came across this beech tree, and it was covered with it, and neither of us had ever seen that before. Yeah, they were about, how big they'd be, probably 50 mil around diameter. There's a couple of cell phone photos in the Luga burn. That's pretty typical Fiordland. You've probably seen that photo. I think that's my best photo. I've got a blue ducks. I just about wrecked my camera getting that one because I've tripped over in the river, and the camera went under the water, and when I lay there and I pulled it out, and the lens cap was bent around, and I thought, oh no, I've really ruined it, but I was able to wriggle it around and it wasn't damaged at all. And then I got these photos afterwards, so that was pretty lucky. And this is, when I was waiting for the helicopter, the sandflies are so bad in Fiordland. And heading out again. So normally when I'm out photographing animals, I'll be using my camera with a tele lens, but I also use this spotting scope, and I've got attachment that will fit my camera onto that. I just have a 20mm lens on my camera, and that then joined onto the scope. And other times I have my cell phone, and I've got a connection for my cell phone, and I put that onto the lens. But it's not easy. You can't use autofocus, doesn't seem to work. And because of the magnification, it's, especially on a warm day, there's so much movement in the air, the blur and the haze. It's taken me a while to learn how to use it, but I've just bought a new cell phone which might make it better. Actually, this particular day was Joe's birthday, and what woman wouldn't want to be taken up in the bush to hear a deer roar on her birthday? And I actually had a video clip I wanted to include, and it was walking up there, and it was Joe cursing. But it's one of the ones that are stuck on this hard drive that I can't open. But the deer we were watching were about half a K, a long way away, probably 400 or 500 metres away. And just a little bit to finish here. I did a trip, I've been in Fiordland quite a number of times, but a couple of years ago now, I did a trip with 2 friends, and we walked from the lake up the Glasnock River and down over the tops, down the Pitt River, and came to the Wild Natives River, where we got picked up by helicopter, flying out, and that took us 10 days, and there's no single tracks in there, and I never want to do it again. Not now that I've got a 7 in front of my age. So. It's steep, and it rains a lot, and a lot of it's bog. And when it rains, it rains for days. You're stuck in a little one-man tent for days. But anyway, it was a good adventure. And I've got some footage here of some deer that I just want to move the mouse on there, but that doesn't work. On the top, so I'll just show you those, and that's all I'm going to show you today. These are taken with my cell phone. Oh no, that's a camp in the Glasnock River. It's called the Glasnock Rock Bivvy, which in the hunting world is a pretty famous place. We were just going to stay the night there, but we had I think we had 2 whole days there because it rained so much. The quality of that photo is not very good, but I took it with my cell phone, and it was almost dark, and I didn't think it would come out. I had to kind of lift it out a bit in Lightroom. But it's a pity I didn't have my other camera. And I took that from where we camped the night, almost from my sleeping bag. And that's just a young wapiti. It's one when you get a ballot, you've been told not to shoot ones that big because they want them to grow into trophy-sized animals. But the problem is, you get a lot of guys that come from, say, the North Island, and if you come from the North Island, that's a huge deer, and they've never seen one like that in their life. So they shoot it, and there goes the trophies, the future. And people come from all around the world to try and get one of these trophies. But so it's all a matter of education. There's another one. This one's pretty dark too, but there's two wapiti here sparring, which I've never seen before. They're a long way away. Probably enough of that. And then the last one. Oh no, it's not the last one. Here's another wapiti bull, a smaller one. Having a bit of a scratch there. But I reckon, it's a privilege to see these animals. I think they were released in Fiordland about 1904, I think. So that's 120 years ago, quite a while. And if you don't know, wapiti are, I think, what the Americans would call elk, and they were given to New Zealand by President Roosevelt, I think it was. and here's a really young one. He saw me move and he didn't know what it was, so I just get really still. Is that going to play? No, try again. Is it? Oh yeah. And then he eventually decided I was nothing and he just carried on walking towards me. I was about 150 metres away. So that's really all I was going to show you. I just, rather than show you a whole lot of quality photos like Joe had there, just take you into my world a little bit. So that's about it.
Thank you. And quite honestly, they were quality videos and quality photos too. So I really enjoyed that. Oops. And as a token of our appreciation, thank you very much. And this is for both of you. There's two inside. Thank you. I have a connection a little bit with Peter because my brother-in-law is also involved in what Peter's involved in, and he does a bit of the building volunteer work with the club. So, and he's also a hunter. So, I've heard stories along the way, and it's very enjoyable to see the pictures because I hear a lot about this wonderful place, and then I ask my brother-in-law, "Oh, well, have you got a picture?" He looks at me like I'm nuts, and so I have to wait for Peter to show me things. So, thank you. So thank you very much for sharing what is a wonderful story and adventure, and thank you, Joe, as well, for sharing your wonderful winter wonderland. It's our pleasure, because I certainly enjoyed that. Thank you. I don't have much more this evening, except to remind people that on Saturday, it is the final night. At 6:30 we open, and I don't know exactly what time it kicks off in terms of sit down, but at 6:30 the doors open to be able to see the prints and to see the slideshows. 7:15 there's a big kick-off. Right, there you go. Seated at 7:15, come at 6:30 to see the pictures. All good. Early dinner, you're sweet. And I can't read this because I've got my glasses on. Yep, 2nd of December, Saturday. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Okay, and also we have been, members have been invited to the New Brighton final Photography Club final night, which is on the 5th of December at 7 p.m, so it's Tuesday night, if you're interested. I think I have done and covered everything. So my first, unless anyone has got any other notices they would like to present to the club. I can't see you if you raised your hand, so you have to just speak up. Okay, sweet. So thank you very much to Gordon, Andrew and Timothy up the back there. Thank you very much, Alistair, for projection. Thank you very much for opening and closing, which is Adrian. Thank you to Stuart for the, I call it the pinhole photography session, hopefully that's right. Thank you very much to John for supper, and thank you all for participating in our sessions and coming along, viewing online. It's fantastic. I really look forward to seeing you at final night. And if I don't see you at final night, I'm sure I will see you on the 31st of January at 7 o'clock for pizza on our first night back. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.